You should stay single in your 20s, and in this video, we're gonna go over 5 huge reasons why that is. What's going on, Kings? It's Keefe. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and bell icon if you're new to the channel. This channel is all about helping you level up and become that high-value winner you were born to be. Now, let's get started. So the first reason to stay single in your 20s is if you do this and you actually commit to it, it's gonna cause you to date lots of women. If you actually set this rule for yourself and you say, you know what, regardless of what happens, I am going to stay single right now, you're going to put yourself in a position where you have 2 options. Either number 1, you can be a celibate, or number 2, you can date lots of different women non-exclusively. And the reason it's so important to date non-exclusively is because what most guys do is the moment some girl shows them a little bit of attention, they immediately hop into a relationship with her, and because of this, they have no reference experiences to tell them what it is they actually want in a relationship. It means that you probably don't have much of a clear understanding of what your worth is in a relationship, and so you've been wanting this girlfriend for a long time and you finally got her, and now you're sitting here thinking that this is such a valuable resource because you haven't dated a lot of girls, so you really don't have much experience, and so you just think this is such a prized possession, so you start putting the girl on the pedestal, and you also start overlooking her faults. And the reason you're going to overlook her faults is, again, you have no reference experiences, and without those references, you don't know whether or not something is reasonable or unreasonable. I mean, think about it. If you grew up in a world where the minimum wage was $1 and most people were getting paid like $2 or $3 an hour or something like that, the idea of making $15 an hour or $7.25 an hour, which is the national minimum wage, would seem like this foreign concept because you don't have it as a reference, and you would accept $2 an hour as a valuable amount of pay. And that's kind of what it's like if you just hop into a relationship with the first girl. You have no reference experiences, so you think that certain behaviors that are probably inappropriate are just par for the course, and because you really want this girl, you're willing to put up with them, and so over time this leads to you giving up on your goals, it leads to you messing up a lot of different things and tolerating a lot of behaviors, and this is how a lot of guys wind up being doormats in relationships. By dating lots of women, you're also going to develop confidence without emotional attachment because you can date a lot of different women, you'll start to see patterns, you'll start to understand that you have some worth, you'll know how to play the game the right way, but you also won't have that emotional attachment involved, and when the breakup occurs, you have to go through this like withdrawal and all this sadness and stuff because you're just dating casually. The second big reason to stay single in your 20s is it's going to allow you to stay completely focused on your goals. Your 20s are going to be the time when you can set yourself up for massive success in your life, and you are here on this earth to be the greatest version of yourself as a man, but you're not going to be able to do that if you're too busy getting in petty arguments with your girlfriend. Recently, I overheard a friend of mine's girlfriend complaining to another friend of hers about how she was always having to do the laundry for her and her boyfriend, and she was complaining. Apparently it had turned into this big argument that the two of them had had the night before about how she was always having to do the laundry. And when I heard this, I just sat back and thought to myself, like, this man, he could be finding the cure for cancer, becoming a multi-millionaire business owner, he could be, I don't know, joining the Olympic bobsledding team, hiking Mount Everest, like he could be doing whatever the fuck he wanted, whatever he wanted to accomplish in this world, but instead he's spending his evenings arguing over whose turn it is to do the laundry. And this is the sad reality for a lot of guys who get into relationships in their 20s. In fact, I can't think of a guy who hopped into a relationship in his early 20s who didn't spend a lot of his time on petty drama and arguments. This is just almost par for the course with a relationship. And you just look back, and I've also done this as well when I had a girlfriend, is you get into these constant stupid arguments all the time, and you think they're so important, and it's all just, you're so consumed with this drama of this relationship, but it's really just so stupid, and none of it actually helps you accomplish anything in your life. And look, it is hard enough to stay focused in your 20s. You got all kinds of things coming at you, and most people don't have very high expectations for you. So if you're the kind of guy who's seriously trying to be a badass, be that 1% alpha male kind of guy, you got to put those like pressures on yourself and self-impose those standards and expectations. And if you're going to do that, you simply cannot waste your time having petty arguments with some girl. girl. It's the same reason that if you really want to be successful, you got to get rid of the kind of people that you hang out with who aren't really trying to be successful, the ones who waste all of your time. Like, if you want to be successful, you can't spend all day getting stoned and playing video games. And it's the same with having a girlfriend. If you are spending your time getting into arguments, or you have to spend all this time watching Netflix shows and doing all this other stuff that's not helping you on your mission, you're just not going to get there. It's just simple math. If one guy is spending all of his time and energy focused on becoming the best version of himself, and you're only spending about 50% of your time because you're having to spend the other 50% dealing with some girlfriend, you're just gonna fall behind. That just makes sense. The third big reason is you get complete freedom and control over your life if you stay single. Here's the thing, guys, no matter how much of an alpha male you are, like, if you're in a relationship, you're going to factor in that other person's opinion and their needs and wants when it comes to you making decisions. And this is a big deal because in your 20s, it's really important to be agile. And what that means is you need to be flexible. You need to have the ability to move around and take opportunities when they arise, and you can't be stuck in a certain situation. For example, let's say that you get a job opportunity that's going to be like your dream job, and it's going to be like perfect for you. It's going to pay you a ton of money, provide you all these opportunities you've been looking for, but it's going to require you to move across the country. And you're in this relationship with this girl, and now you have to think about all these different factors. You got to think about, okay, is she going to want to come with me? And if she does want to come with me, do I want her to come with me? And then on top of that, you got to think about, if she's coming with me, how do we pay for all this? Should I get married? Should I factor in all these different things? And then you also got to think about, what if she doesn't want to come? And if she doesn't want to come, then I either have to pick between the job or this relationship, which means I'm going to spend some time in a really bad emotional spot, because if I take the job, I'm going to miss the girl that I've built this emotional connection with. And if I don't take the job, I'm probably going to resent the girl for the rest of my life because I didn't take the opportunity that was provided for me. And the thing about your 20s is this is usually the first time in your life that you are going to have complete freedom of choice. Before this, you had school telling you what you had to do. You probably had your parents telling you what you had to do. Now you're in a spot in your life where you are independent enough that you can make your own choices. But if you hop into a relationship immediately, you're not going to be able to do that. And there's so much value in being independent and completely self-reliant, because this is the moment when you grow the most. So the real question to this is to ask, like, why would you get into a relationship when you have this opportunity to have your freedom and your independence, and you probably aren't that clear on what your future is going to be anyways? Now, the fourth big reason to stay single in your 20s is you have not reached your peak sexual market value yet. Now, I've mentioned sexual market value before, but I want to put this graph up on the screen again. This graph is going to show you when a man peaks sexually in his attractiveness to women. And you'll see that on the graph, this happens in your early 30s. Now, this is obviously an average of all men. You could be hitting your peak in your early 20s, perhaps, if you're like some super famous rock star or something like that. Or you might hit it into your 40s, like, who knows? It really just kind of depends on a lot of factors. But on average, a man is going to reach his peak sexual market value in his early 30s. And this is because he's had enough time to acquire a lot of status and a lot of resources, while also still being young enough to be physically attractive and appealing in that sense. So really think about it. If you're 22 right now and you're making decent money, but it's not like anything crazy, and you've got your own place and you're feeling pretty good about yourself, and you hop into a relationship with the first girl that shows up, well, understand that if you're feeling good about yourself now, just imagine if you took the rest of your 20s and truly leveled up and became that 1% of 1% man. I'm talking about the kind of guy who's got his body in check. I'm talking about he's got his money right. He's got status. He's really just built himself into that just ultimate version of himself. Just think about the opportunities that are going to be available to you. You don't have to settle for anything in life, but you do have to be patient. This opportunity that I'm referring to right here is really about delayed gratification. It's almost always a good choice to put off gratification and to keep building. Now, at some point that does become stupid. Like, you don't want to just keep building and keep building and keep building and never actually enjoy your life. Totally get that. But if you're 22, this is a really good opportunity to delay gratification and, go date non-exclusively, like I mentioned in number 1. And then by the time you're 30, you've really peaked and you have opportunities with women available to you that you would not have had at 22. And the fifth big reason is you lack identity when you're in your 20s. The same way I mentioned with freedom, in your 20s, this is really your first time time in your life where you're going to be able to construct your own identity for yourself. Before this, you were usually made an identity by your parents, by your environment, and most of the time what people do is they look at their outer world to tell them who they are. And this is a lot of times the prison that we get stuck in. Other people, when we're young, label us as this loser kind of person, and so we just carry that with us for the rest of our lives. Now, it's really important in your 20s to found yourself a new identity. Build that new foundation of identity for yourself. And this is one reason I'm a huge fan of starting completely over in your 20s, going somewhere new if you need to, starting over with new friends, just like really building yourself anew. But you can't do that if you're hopping into a relationship, because then you're going to be identified by that relationship and by that person's expectations of you and their perceptions. One of the greatest moments of my life was when I left my hometown and went to college. This was such a valuable moment for me. I didn't really get anything out of the education, to be totally honest, but I got a ton out of being on my own and being in a new city, where I got this sudden sense of like, I can be who I want to be. I can be a new person. And I changed dramatically in that time. And so this is an opportunity that comes to you in your early 20s if you're not held down by anything else and nothing else is telling you who you have to be. You have this opportunity to construct your ultimate identity of yourself. So don't waste that. It's such a great opportunity, because this is where you can find yourself and find who you want to be in this world and what you want to do with your life. But again, you're not going to be able to do this if you're in a relationship, because there become expectations of who you are and how you're going to behave, and that turns into a prison that you are stuck in. And along with this, as you construct an identity, you're going to develop self-awareness. You're going to understand your biases, your tendencies, what kind of person you are, and who you get along with best. And it's also going to give you that clarity on who it is you're trying to be in a relationship with if you choose to get into a relationship later on in life. If you don't have a strong sense of identity of who you are, then you usually hang out with lots of people who also don't have much of an identity. And so everybody kind of like uses each other to reflect their identities to each other, and they never really find those people that are those fulfilling relationships for them. So you need to find out who you are in order to find out who you are best belonging with. And if you don't spend your 20s figuring out who you are and building yourself into that version of yourself, then you can't expect to get into a relationship with this person that fits you perfectly, because you won't even know what you're looking for. Guys, I want you to go down below, give this video a like if you have huge goals for your life and you're going to be that 1% man. You're going to spend your 20s becoming that guy. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell icon so you don't miss new videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.